What is going on, my fellow geeks?
3 movies with elves and a guy with a white beard.
Not a lot of people accept it as canon.
2022 will be the year of Star Wars.
Well, I have more than just one piece of geek news.
I have been Isaac Hunter.
Which is like high culture, but better.
Hello, fellow geeks, and welcome back to Raving Geeks, the weekly pop culture podcast where we talk about all things geeky and geek culture, which is like high culture, but better. My name is Hope Gooderl, host of the Raving Geeks podcast, along with my co-host Carter Sally, who will introduce himself in a minute with our question of the week. If you're just joining us for the first time and you want to check out our other episodes, you can find us at cm-life.com and any other place you listen to podcasts like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube. Just search Central Michigan Life Podcasts Raving Geeks. So this week is going to be a little bit different because I'm letting Carter take the reins for the discussion portion of the podcast because I only have 2, maybe 3 if we decide to put one out during finals week, which we will talk about that later, but basically 2 episodes left after this. I'm student teaching in the fall, so Carter needs to get some practice in on working the podcast and running the discussion. But before I let him take the reins for this episode, Carter, I want to know, what is your favorite silent or limited dialogue film, or favorite aspect of a silent or limited dialogue film?
Well, what I love about silent films is that it completely relies on imagery to tell the story, which I think is a completely underrated way to do film, and why I think WALL-E the first part of WALL-E, where there's barely any dialogue, is a great film. But my favorite silent film is Nosferatu from, I think it's 1918. I mean, fact check myself on that, but it's like one of the very first vampire movies, and it's a great watch for anyone who is curious about the horror genre and just wants to get started with like the history of it, but is not ready to go into like Conjuring, other kind of scary stuff like that. How about you, Hope?
My favorite aspect of the films is the creativity of the music creators. Just because like they have to match what's going on the screen to be able to portray it more. But I would say my favorite limited dialogue film is Dunkirk. Not just because Harry Styles is in it. That's not why. But I really liked how like they had to use their facial expressions a lot. Like it was whole body acting, not just relying on the dialogue. Or basically anything Charlie Chaplin. I absolutely love his comedy, and the music that goes with it just fits so well. I will say I don't like the silent films that put the dialogue on the screen. I'm like, I realize you didn't understand how to record like dialogue yet, but this just takes away from the rest of the movie, in my opinion. But it is what it is. All right. On to our geek news for the week. So, Carter, what have you got for us this week?
Just after fact checking myself, for Nosferatu, it was actually 1922, so I needed to correct myself. But we had a lot of news come out in the world of geekiness because Star Wars Celebration just ended, and we got a whole bunch of announcements. Like James Mangold, director of Logan, is going to be directing origin movie for the Jedi, which is very exciting. Dave Filoni got his own movie, and he will be directing the end of the Mandalorian universe and all the interconnected stories, with a movie that will hopefully come out in 2026, though that date is not set in stone. Daisy Ridley is returning for basically what is Star Wars 10, and she is going to rebuild the Jedi Order in that movie. Andor Season 2 is coming in August of 2024 on Disney+. Ballerina, the John Wick spinoff, twirls into theaters on June 7th of 2024. The House of Dragons Season 2 series is now in production, which is great to hear. and a new Game of Thrones spinoff was just announced, being a Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, the Hedge Knight, which I don't know that story at all, so I'm super curious to see what that's all about. The Mario movie just released, and its hit song Peaches, sung by Bowser or Jack Black, is eligible for Best Original Song at the Oscars. So fingers crossed for next Oscars that we can win Jack Black one of those. And the biggest news of the week is that HBO Max is completely changing their name to just Max, and they will be rolling out more content in 2024. And they just had like their own mini celebration about a whole bunch of projects that were announced, like Gremlins prequel series, a date release for Welcome to Derry being 2024, and a trailer for the Penguin series for the Matt Reeves Batman universe, which has all been great news. Hope, what do you have for us?
I just want to add on to your HBO real quick that the reason why they're going to just Max is because I believe they bought Discovery Plus last year.
I think Discovery bought out Warner Brothers, and then they they're going to fuse both of their streaming services into Max, if I have that correctly.
But Max HBO is like the parent company.
Right.
So yeah. So if you're wondering where your Discovery Plus stuff is going, it's going over to what will now be known as just Max. Adding on to your Star Wars news, which I was surprised you did not have this one. But Ashoka casts Lars Mikkelsen as villain Grand Admiral Thrawn.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea if he is related to Mads Mikkelsen.
He is.
I believe
it's his
so.
brother. It's his
okay.
brother.
I was like, that's a very uncommon last name, or at least I think it's a very uncommon last name. So there's no way that they're not related somehow. But for the HBO Max series, The Penguin, they just cast Carmen Ejogo, Francis Chow, and David H. Holmes in recurring roles. The lead is Colin Farrell from the Batman.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know what the new cast members, what their characters are yet. That was not released. But yeah, we've got 3 new cast members there. Ooh, that's not running. Speaking of the Mario movie, this isn't like news or anything, but I just want to let y'all know that Jack Black wants the Super Mario's Bros. Movie sequel to star Pedro Pascal as Wario. Just so you're all aware.
Mm-hmm.
Stranger Things is expanding its universe on Netflix with an animated series. The adventure continues. That's in the works right now. Kim Kardashian is joining American Horror Story season 12 with Emma Roberts. Mia Goth has joined Marvel's Blade reboot as an unknown or undisclosed character. She is best known for her breakout roles in X and Pearl. Isaiah Bradley is going to be in the new Captain America movie, Captain America New World Order. He's going to be suiting up for some action against the Serpent Society.
Mm-hmm.
For those of you geeks who have been with us, with Brendan and Isaac and I, how much we love The Boys. Season 4 of The Boys just finished filming. If I knew this, I forgot it. Apparently Jeffrey Dean Morgan is part of season 4.
Mm-hmm.
So now all we need is Misha Collins and Jared Padalecki, and the boys will have cast basically everyone in Supernatural, or at least the main people. Because you had Jensen Ackles in it last season, and whoever Jeffrey Dean Morgan is playing for season 4, I'm not sure. And then my final bit of geek news is for anyone who is fans of Firekeeper's Daughter, which was a book by Angeline Boulley. Her next book, which is called Warrior Girl Unearthed, is being released on May 2nd of this year. So I'm super excited for it. She said that if Firekeeper's daughter was Native American or indigenous, Nancy Drew, that Warrior Girl is indigenous Tomb Raider, but instead of like raiding the tombs, she's stealing from museums to return back to the tribes. Um, which I think is gonna be super cool. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that seemed really fast for geek news for me, and I'm sure some of you are very happy about that. Um, but now on to our geek topic. So Carter, take it away.
Our geek topic that I have chosen for this episode is best soundtracks, or the soundtracks that we love the most. I guess I'll start off with my third most liked soundtrack, and it is Prince of Darkness, scored by John Carpenter. So Prince of Darkness is it's not an obscure John Carpenter movie, but it's like one of the ones that not a whole lot of people know about. But if you go into the really diehard horror community, they know about it. And it's this great film about a bunch of college students that team up with a priest and studying this giant vat of supernatural slime that turns out to be a demonic entity waiting to be released. It's a great movie if you love cheesy horror movies, but that score is very, very haunting. I remember sitting down with my friend Connell and his girlfriend, and we were just trying to pick like goofy horror movies to watch. I'm like, oh, let's watch Prince of Darkness. From what I remember from it, it's not that serious. No, that movie is dark for a reason. It's very unsettling, and the score is so good. It just sets the mood for what kind of film you're going to experience. It's like this very spacey, techno-y, guitar riffy music. I actually own some of it through iTunes, which is how much I love it. And it's a soundtrack that I can never get out of my head. And I always love listening to it around the fall season. It's just a very great mood setter. What's your number three, Hope?
My number three is very specific. The rest of my list is not specific. Um, but my number three is the 2009 film Star Trek with Chris Pine. The score was written by Michael Giacchino. Gino. I can never. I am
What's the name?
trying to. Giacchino.
Oh, Michael Giacchino.
Thanks. I was trying to read the International Phonetic Alphabet, and I was like, I can do it with a piece of paper in front of me that I have all my notes on how to do it. Um, but yeah, I really liked that one just because like it pulled me in a lot more than the second or third films. The second and third films are definitely like really good soundtracks to listen to if you are the type of person who needs non lyrical music to listen to. Just like they suggest using game uh oh my gosh. What the video games. Why couldn't I remember video? I don't know. Video games soundtracks that they say to listen to while you're studying because they're designed to not be like super distracting. But I am one of those people that I listen to the soundtracks because I, especially if I love them, and I can tell you what's happening. Be just listening to the music, I'll be like, this is what's happening in the movie, and I can have seen it once, and I will know what's happening when the soundtrack is playing. Because I'm also that kid that when Percy Jackson movie came out and they were in the Lotus Casino and Hotel, that all of a sudden Lady Gaga stopped playing, and I was like, oops, scene change. And people that I was seeing it with did not notice that, and I was like, you gotta listen to the music. But yeah, Star Trek with Chris Pine, 2009. Very definitely a great contender and in my number three spot.
Nice. I'm gonna have to rewatch that film because I know four still coming out? Is it still
I
being
haven't
released?
heard
It's
anything in a
canceled.
while, but I know Chris Pine was just doing Dungeons and Dragons. and Carl Urban was The Boys, and Zoe Saldana was Marvel,
Yeah.
obviously.
Simon Pegg's
So
doing Mission Impossible. Yeah, they're
yeah,
all busy. But yeah, I do need to rewatch those ones because I remember them being really, really good.
they are.
On to my second pick. It's going to be Guardians of the Galaxy and their soundtrack, both the copyrighted music soundtrack and the original soundtrack. I don't remember who did the original soundtrack. I'm gonna assume that it's the same person. I think it's Michael Giacchino, but don't quote me on that. But there's one specific track in that gives me goosebumps every time I hear it. It's when the Guardians land in Ronan the Accuser's ship. They go into the hole, they crash land, and they're just in complete and total darkness. Most of them are injured, and Groot just lifts up his hand, and all the light up spores come out, and that techno piano music comes in, and it just oozes 80s sci-fi, and I love that scene. I love that soundtrack. I love the copyrighted music. I still own volume 1 and 2 on my phone. I listen to it constantly. Come and Get Your Love is probably top 10 favorite songs of all time because it taught me to branch out to music that wasn't just heavy metal, and that old poppy 80s music is cool too. Yeah, that both those soundtracks are just buried into my mind. I love them both. And that's my second.
It is Tyler Bates.
Tyler Bates. I know he's done more stuff that I know. What else has he done that I know?
He has done Dawn of the Dead, 300, Sucker Punch, Halloween 1 and 2, and the John Wick franchise is what he's most known
from. I know him from John Wick. That's it. I'm like, I know him from somewhere else. And he needs to get more work because I think he does such great work. And I think he's scoring Guardians 3 also, if I remember correctly. He should be.
According to Wikipedia, no. He did John Wick Chapter 4, Pearl, Day Shift, X. So he knows, or probably not, because I don't know how much they interact with the actors, but Mia Goth was in 2 of those. He did the Fast and Furious, Hobbs and Shaw, The Spy Who Dumped Me, Deadpool 2. Let's see. Guardians.
Yeah, done a lot of good work. I love all those movies that you just listed off. Especially 300. His 300 score is really damn good. Most of that story is told through music and imagery with some lines of dialogue here and there. But it's a great movie.
Guardians of the Galaxy is being scored by John Murphy.
I don't think I know him.
I'm like trying to look through his the cinematography stuff, and I'm like, okay, apparently he did Kick-Ass.
Okay.
He did The Suicide Squad. He's done a lot, but I don't really recognize most of what he's done. So he's apparently been active in film industry since 1992. So
that's very cool because
he did the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special as well.
That had a good soundtrack to it. And yeah, the Suicide Squad's original soundtrack is really, really good when you listen to it, especially when they're going up against Starro. That drum and guitar build up to King Shark just launching himself at Starro. I love that scene so much. And that music definitely makes that scene. So I'm excited to see what he does for Guardians 3. But yeah, what's your number 2?
Okay, so this one is generic because I can't remember which movie this specific song is in. I can hear it and I can see it going this little thing, and I'm like, but I can't. It's really bad that I can't remember which Harry Potter it is. I know it's not number 4. I know it's not Goblet of Fire. But honestly, in all honesty, I absolutely love all of the Harry Potter soundtracks.
Mhm.
John Williams did a fantastic job with the first three, and then being able to set it up for Patrick Doyle, Nicholas Hooper, and Alexandre Desplat to be able to take themes from the first film and like riff on them and also kind of create their own stuff. And um like it's all fantastic. It all blends together so well and like seamlessly transitions. um it's not like Hamilton where you go from like Alexander saying like, if you don't stand for anything, Burr, what do you fall for, to all of a sudden new like music change, not of, not gonna throw away my shot. And it's
Mhm.
just kind of like that abrupt, like all of the music is really nicely connected. If there is anything that changes, you don't necessarily tell right away. But also they do a really good job of adding the magical element to the music, because this film series, it's about magic and using magic, and even objects are so magical and will move. Um and um, when you get like the certain um like the snitch acting up, or like Fred and George's shenanigans and stuff, like it always is perfect. You get the fun, like they kind of pull together like Scottish and Irish themes too, which I absolutely love.
Mhm.
Especially because if Hogwarts is supposed to service the entire United Kingdom, I mean, you got Seamus Finnegan, so that's our known Irish character. Um, but you got to incorporate all of the other stuff, and like I probably my favorite like piece besides just Hedwig's theme is for the World Cup, for
Mhm.
the Quidditch World Cup. Like just hearing the little violins doing everything, like you can hear the excitement in the music. You don't even need like the screen showing you what's happening to know that it's an exciting time and lots of people are happy, and no one's worrying about Voldemort or Death Eaters. They're just like, no, let's go have fun, watch a game that we all love. And then of course you get the darkness that comes next, because Barty Crouch Jr. is like, here's the dark mark in the sky. I'm gonna
Mhm.
ruin everything. Um, but yeah. So
Yeah.
Harry Potter, all of them are is my number two.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. They're all great scores. Um, my number one is uh probably Star Wars Episode 3. I can't get enough of that soundtrack ever since I was a little 7-year-old boy watching Star Wars 3 on my little CRT TV with my dad and brother. Those are just some really great memories. I have all the tracks memorized. But I know I love John Williams for everything he does, to E.T., to Indiana Jones, to Jaws, to Star Wars. But my favorite piece he's ever done is actually an Empire Strikes Back, and it's Han and Leia's theme. That is my favorite musical piece of all time. I love the giant crescendo it goes into with just that dun 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 dun. I love it. I love that theme so much. It makes me feel so many emotions, and the power of music that holds over you is just such a prime example when I hear that theme.
Mhm.
I get so tingly and I get chills. It's like serotonin for my brain. I love, love, love that piece of music. And I am so glad that we have John Williams just for a little bit longer. I know the man is old, and I know he just got done doing the Obi-Wan theme, but I hope he snuck in just a little something in the new Indiana Jones movie. I know that somebody
Oh
else
shit.
scoring it, but
But he was in his 70s. He's apparently 91 years old.
oh yeah, no, that man is ancient. He's been around since like
Oh
19.
my god.
Yeah, he is old. He is old. Yeah, but he he does his job. He does it very, very well. And most iconic scores we know nowadays, it was probably done by him.
Oh
It was
yeah,
probably done by him.
absolutely. Like major movie franchises? Are you kidding me? Disney was
Oh,
not
Jurassic
going with
Park.
anybody else.
Yeah, Jurassic Park. There's another one right there. Damn. Yeah, that entry scene when you see the Brachiosaurus, man, I love that scene so much, and the swelling of the music when he says, "Welcome to Jurassic Park." Ah, it's so good. He's just a master. And I love people like Michael Giacchino and Ludwig Göransson who have kind of like taken um his role as like the new Star Wars composers. But I'm very excited to see what other composers are what they have cooking for the next few movies for Star Wars. It's going to be weird. Like it's already been weird knowing that his final Star Wars thing is probably going to be Obi-Wan considering how old he is. But um yeah, he's just the best. He's such a great composer. He's
Yeah.
brilliant, and I am so glad to have his piece at my number one. What's your number one, Hope?
This one again was just all of it. And then in looking at like who wrote it, it makes sense because he had a hand in literally every single one. Um, Pirates of the Caribbean film series. So, if you were watching on YouTube, I have the lovely Johnny Depp as Jack Sparrow behind me. With I think the Black Pearl on fire behind me. I could be wrong. There's a lot of ships that catch on fire in
Yeah, that's the Black Pearl.
Pirates movies. Okay, that's what I thought, but you know. Um, but so the reason why I say that one guy basically has his hand in all of them, Hans Zimmer did not
Mhm.
technically write the first movie score. It was technically Klaus Badelt. Um, but Hans Zimmer was a producer, so like he got in there and was helping Klaus out and was like, "Listen, this is what would be good." But then Hans Zimmer came in with the rest of them up until the last film, um, which was Jeff Zanelli. Um, and he, but like it is so iconic. You just
Mhm.
have da 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 da. Yeah, like you just know what's happening as soon. And I will say thank you to TikTok for bringing it back because everybody's trying to do the Jack Sparrow run on TikTok. That's still a
That
thing.
is so funny because randomly, when me and my roommate Cole were just walking into our dorm, he just starts doing the Jack Sparrow run. It's so funny.
It's fantastic. And there are some people that I'm like, do you understand like what it is? It's not just like you holding your hands up a certain way and looking like a pterodactyl. It's like you actually have to do this thing. Um, so I don't think people truly understand what the Jack Sparrow run means. But I mean, you immediately start thinking of that, or you think of Will Turner, Orlando Bloom, or because especially like at the end of the first movie, he is a pirate, which is what the theme is called, is he's a pirate, literally pops up when like Elizabeth's like, "Yep, I know that Will's a pirate, I still love him," and but then they also bring in themes that match the movies so well. So
Mhm.
like they all get darker in the first three movies, the first trilogy. It gets darker as it goes on, and then you get um to like the big calypso um and just like it, you can tell that like here's the moment we've been building to, this dark scene, this massive fight for basically the world and for a difference between life and death and for you know the Flying Dutchman to actually do its job and help the dead move on and into the next world. Um, and you do get some funness back into it when you have to flip the world upside down and flip the boat, and Jack's on the island by himself, but there's like 20,000 Jacks, and then there's like a million little crabs or what. Like, you get the little funness in it that shows off what the movies are, but then you also get the seriousness in it. And also, like, when you get the different pirate lords, like, you get in the themes of where they're from. And oh my gosh, the organ for
Yeah,
um
Davy Jones when he's playing with the
Davy Jones's organ.
beard.
Oh
Oh
my
my God.
God.
It's
It is
so great.
it's so haunting and so beautiful. And it's just like, oh my gosh, like it's one of those that like you want to sit there and listen to it forever, but it's also just so haunting and dark that you're like, this is gonna give me nightmares just on its own. Oh,
Mhm.
but it's so good. And then of course when you bring in Penelope Cruz as Jack Sparrow's kind of love interest, but also Blackbeard's daughter,
Mhm.
you get the Spanish themes in it, and there's even a Spanish influenced, he's a pirate um musical piece on that one. It's so good. Oh my gosh, they did so well at paying attention to the movies, paying attention to the actors, paying attention to like the ridiculousness of it, but also like, hey, some of this could actually happen because pirates are real.
Mhm.
Um, it is absolutely phenomenal. And like, oh, it's so good. So
Yeah,
good.
absolutely. Okay. Now we're going to go into our I'm sorry, not our recommendations, our honorable mentions. Oh geez. That's how you know
Not
I'm
there yet.
that's how you know I'm new at hosting. Hope, why don't you start us off with your first honorable mention?
Okay. So like I've been looking because first off, Ellen Silvestri, why I added an R in silk to make silver, I don't know. Silvestri, um, he is phenomenal, and I'm sitting here going, I know he's done a lot of things. Well, yeah, his Wikipedia page is literally broken up into film 1970s and 80s,
Hmm.
film 1990s, the different eras of film. Um, but so the first one I'm going to say, because I didn't realize that he actually did this one until just now, Lilo and Stitch.
Hmm.
It's, oh gosh, he uses elements um that make it so nice. Like it's one of those soundtracks. First off, I love the soundtracks that, or the songs in it that have the lyrics. So Hawaiian Roller Coaster Ride. I think there's another one, but I can't remember what it's called because I think it's the title is in Hawaiian. Um, but then this music also just like that soundtrack fits really well into the movie where you don't get pulled out, and it's
Mhm.
just so like woven into the film that you actually don't realize it's there, which for someone who listens to movie scores is also really good when I can focus on the movie and get the soundtrack in my head but not be focused on it. Like
Right.
Pirates movies, they're great and I love the soundtrack, but like I also start singing along with the music when I start hearing it instead of actually watching the movie.
Yeah, totally.
So, what about you? What's your first honorable mention?
My first honorable mention is going to be Michael Giacchino's The Batman score. That score is so good. When the when Batman is walking towards the flipped over car with Penguin inside is such an epic moment. And when that score just starts to speed up during the highway scene chase, oh my God, it's so good. It's just such a great score. And I love the Christian Bale Batman scores. Those are also great, but Michael Giacchino just knocked it out of the park. And I'm so glad he's doing more stuff for Marvel and DC. He absolutely deserves it. I loved his score for Werewolf by Night, and I'm so glad he's getting more work because he absolutely deserves it. Oh, and then he had his directorial debut in Werewolf by Night. So he's a great director too, and I hope he gets more projects. What's your second honorable mention?
I'm gonna stay with Alan Silvestri for a minute. First off, I want you to know that he wrote the score for 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7 episodes from Tales of the Crypt from the Crypt. Just
Who
so
was
you're
that?
aware. Alan Silvestri.
Okay.
Silvestri. Why can't I say his name? I don't know. But he did Captain America, the First Avenger, The Avengers, Age of Ultron, Infinity War, and Endgame. And oh gosh, just Captain America, the First Avenger was so good.
It's such an underrated Marvel movie. I can't believe people don't appreciate it more. Like, it's
Yes.
definitely in like the top 15 for me. Like, every time I rewatch the movie, I'm like, damn, this is a really good movie. Why do people not talk about it more?
Which, tangent on that, someone on TikTok pointed out to us that you can actually see the blood on Bucky's hand when he's hanging on to the side of the train car before he falls for the arm that he loses. And I was like, I've never noticed that before. And now I hate this scene even more. But no, he did such a good job um for the first event for Captain America, the First Avenger score, because like, oh my gosh, like their movie scores, in my opinion, are supposed to help you feel, and I think they say this at the Oscars. Well, yeah, Oscars. There's too many awards, and I can never keep them straight. Um, the Academy Award, the Oscars. They say it helps to influence how we feel about different scenes, and um, like when he's upset about Bucky dying, and Cap's
Well,
trying to
dying,
drink.
At
At the time, he was dead.
the time,
Okay,
at the time.
we didn't know until like 5 years later he's not actually dead.
Mhm.
Um, but oh my gosh, he does it so well of like making music so somber and sad, and like, but also having that element of like kind of frustration because Steve can't get drunk. And
Right.
here he is in the bar that was literally bombed out and burned up, and he's drinking because his best friend just died, but he can't get drunk, even though that's exactly what he wants to do. And the music is just there to help you start crying, and it's just, oh gosh, it was so good.
Mhm.
Apparently, Alan Menken, who is very well known for the Disney movies, like the animated movies, Little Mermaid and such.
Mhm.
He wrote Star Spangled Man,
Really?
which,
That
yeah,
makes sense. I hear it now. I hear it. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. No, I definitely get that.
So yeah, that's my number 2, um, honorable mention.
Hmm.
Not that there's a list of like where these all go; they're just like all
No, of
honorable
course not.
mentions.
That's the
But
beauty of honorable mentions. It doesn't have to be ranked. My second honorable mention is The Lion King. Both the animated and the live action, because I
live
know,
action,
yeah, the live action, yeah. I know people give a lot of shit to the live action, which is kind of deserved. I mean, Jon Favreau tried his best. But I will say the version of Hakuna Matata is much better in the live action one than it is in the
oh,
animated one. No, let me finish. Let me finish. Donald Glover is a way better singer than Matthew Broderick. I'm sorry, but when Donald Glover just comes in with the Hakuna Matata, I just felt that.
hit.
He just came in with that. I'm
That's
sorry.
fine, but
Yeah.
Seth Rogen, no. And there were a couple lyric changes that I was not okay with them changing. Because I was like, I'm singing along, and then all of a sudden I sing this word, and they're onto that word, and I'm like, wait, what just happened?
Yeah, no, that is annoying. But I will say, Jeremy Irons' Be Prepared in the animated one is so much better than the live action one where he's just saying words. And I'm like, this is more of like a rap than it is like the actual song because he's just kind of saying words and he does the be prepared. But like he actually sings it in the animated one. By the way, that is like the most underrated song on that soundtrack because I love that people love I Just Can't Wait to Be King and Hakuna Matata, but Be Prepared is such an epic villain song. It's right up there with Poor Unfortunate Souls for me with
Yeah.
Ursula. Those are my two favorite Disney villain songs. Oh, dang it. I just remembered Dr. Facilier's song from Princess and the Frog. I mean, I love that song too. Sorry.
Oh,
Those
Friends on the Other Side?
yeah, Friends on the Other Side. I was humming that all October because it's such a great Halloween song to have on the playlist. Just I love like the jazziness to it and it's like the slowness.
If you're gonna make a freaking film, have the setting be in freaking New Orleans, and you don't put jazz in that,
It's a
you are
disservice.
doing something wrong.
Exactly. But I love the Are you ready? Are you ready? Oh, it's such a good song. A lot of Disney has a lot of bangers, but I think Lion King is my favorite of the animated Disney soundtracks because I love three songs from that soundtrack. And usually, like with Disney soundtracks, I'm like, I love this song, and the rest of it's like okay. But Lion King just really hits it for me. Oh, and the beginning, now I fucking love that intro so much. It's all so good. And the fact that Elton John, one of my favorite musical artists of all time, helped with that film, it just cherry on top. Oh, chef's kiss. Perfect. What is your third honorable mention?
Well, first off, I am looking up something
Mm-hmm.
for the um wow. Okay. No, this is the one problem I have with Wikipedia on my computer is I can't just like click on what I want.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm trying to remember who sings the opening song. Okay, it's Carmen Twilly and Lebo M.
Mm-hmm.
Morake. And that was for the 1994.
Mm-hmm.
And then for the uh for 2019 it was gotta scroll down. That's almost there. Music. Um we also had Lebo doing it. But then it was Brown, Linda Way, McKees. So I just wanted to make sure because I couldn't remember if they made it like a white person singing that opening or not, and they did not, as far as I could tell.
Okay.
But so my honorable mention, which I'm gonna start off and say this came out the same year as The Princess and the Frog, which blows my freaking mind. That was back in 2009.
That's a long time ago.
I'm sitting here going, no, because I remember going to see it with my Girl Scout troop, and we were like high school. No, apparently it was like seventh grade. Not high school. Yes, I was in the Girl Scouts for a while. Basically kindergarten through 11th grade. Um, but so my favorite is of course Hans Zimmer again. But I was literally just like, oh, this film, Sherlock Holmes, with Jude Law and Robert Downey Jr. Gosh, like I don't know. I don't think it's violin or fiddle, but it's like one of those like think it's a harpsichord, I think,
The
that makes the
giant
little,
thing they like
no, that's
sit.
a harp.
Oh.
No, I think a harpsichord has keys, but it also has like the strings that kind of, so it doesn't quite sound like a piano,
Hmm.
but it's a little bit more like sharp sounding than
Oh, yeah.
an actual harp.
Harpsichord. Yeah, that was used in the Knives Out movies. Yeah.
Yeah.
The intro for Glass Onion uses a harpsichord. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Um, and so if I get that wrong, don't tell my mom because she's a music teacher. Don't tell my sister or brother-in-law either because they are band directors, music people, teachers as well. Um, Reminder, I'm going into English as teaching, not music. So don't hate me if I get the wrong instrument on a very like precise. Anyway, just but like the little like because the little harpsichord for it just makes it like I don't know how to like fully describe it as much as just like it fits the time period. Um, but also just like fits similar in like the curiosity and strangeness that is Sherlock Holmes, and it fits so well. And then you get like the fiddle and the violin and like the full orchestra for stuff, and it just it fills it up so well. And like I said, of course it's Hans Zimmer. He knows what he's doing.
Mhm.
Um he is probably he and Alan Silvestri um are probably like the two that are going to be taking over for John Williams in my opinion with like musical scores. There are a couple others that I'm like I can kind of see you doing stuff, but you're not in it as much. Like you haven't done as much yet, so you still have a bit to go.
Mhm.
Um but yeah, like this music, it fits Sherlock Holmes. Like it is Sherlock Holmes. Because even when I watch Benedict Cumberbatch's Sherlock, like the music doesn't have quite the same, like it doesn't match Sherlock as well, in my opinion. Like the character that is Sherlock Holmes. Like
Mhm.
it's a good score, but like it just there's something about the Sherlock Holmes, Robert Downey Jr.'s, Hans Zimmer's that just like it is Sherlock Holmes. That's what it is. It's Sherlock. Because of
I-
course, Sherlock would find this random instrument and know how to play it or teach himself how to play it in a matter of 5 days, whatever. So
Yeah,
yeah.
that is a great choice. My third and final honorable mention is going to go to John Carpenter's The Thing. I love that movie. I think it is a perfect horror movie. It's one of the rare cases that a remake is better than the original movie. John Carpenter just takes the concept of the thing, the shape-shifting alien that can turn to anyone and you have no idea who it is just a terrifying concept. And the soundtrack, um, the movie takes place in this Antarctica base. They're in the middle of nowhere during a snowstorm, and they have to figure out who the alien is without any outside help, no contact with any of the government, and limited food and supplies. They have two flamethrowers and a couple of pistols, if I remember. So it is tense, and the music helps it so much with um, just these little beats of just tension. It's a very simple, um, it's a very simple track. I'm sorry, not track. It's a very simple score, but the simpleness is exactly what it needed because the plot is simple, the score is simple, but with the writing that John Carpenter does for this movie, it all works and it just all culminates in this very stressful movie that it's just fantastic. So yeah, that is going to be my final honorable mention.
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
At the end of our podcast, we always like to give out recommendations. Hope, what are your recommendations for the week?
So first off, if you're in the Mount Pleasant area, go to Doozies. They are open now. They opened as of March 31st. They apparently have a new flavor that is lemon lavender hand dipped ice cream. That is a light citrus flavor that would pair well with any fruit topping. So if you're looking for a new ice cream flavor to try, go to Doozies, and they are pretty inexpensive. Like they're a good for college students on a budget.
Mhm.
If you want something to laugh at, go watch the video of Travis Kelce throwing the opening pitch at the Guardians baseball game.
Really?
It's oh god, it's so bad. And then Patrick Mahomes trolls him. Oh god, like oh, you sit there and go, it's a good thing you weren't a baseball player, dude. It's hilarious. Just like, and then Travis Kelce tries to come back with like, well, yeah, obviously I've been spiking the ball, and I'm like, if you were spiking the ball, it'd be right at your feet, not like no. It's just bad. It's hilarious.
That sounds hilariously terrible.
It's one of those you sit there and go, you throw a football. A football you throw forward. How did you hit the ground? Like not even halfway to the catcher. And the ball is smaller. Then like what? How did you yeah. I am sure his brother roasted him for that as well. Um if I ever saw Travis Kelce, I'd be roasting him for it.
Yes.
My other recommendations for y'all, I am recommending the rom-com How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. It stars Kate Hudson and Matthew McConaughey. It came out in 2003, so it is a bit old, but like you can't fully tell in the movie. But basically it's hilarious because Matthew McConaughey's character is um like um dared essentially to make a girl fall in love with him in so many days because he thinks that he's hot shit and can do that. And then of course the girl that his coworkers are daring him to make fall in love with him is a girl that's writing an article about how to lose a guy in 10 days. Using all the techniques that her coworker uses, and how her coworker always loses a guy within the first 10 days of their relationship. So yeah, it is fantastic. I still love it. Um, I think it's one of Matthew McConaughey's better romantic comedies or romance movies, just because I feel like he and Kate Hudson have a really good chemistry together, and their characters are like opposite but the same and like gel really well together, even though they're trying to do opposite things. But yeah, those are my recommendations.
Very
Carter,
nice.
what do you got?
My recommendations for the week is going to be two films, actually technically three. Two I haven't seen yet, but I am still going to recommend because they are great passion projects and they're just different films. I'm going to recommend the Super Mario movie just because, just go see it for Bowser singing about Princess Peach. I love that song so much. I bought it on 99 cents on iTunes, even though that there were several music videos released on YouTube for free. That is how much I love that song, and I love supporting Jack Black. So go see that movie so we can support him and get him that Oscar. Please. He totally deserves it for everything that he's done for the music genre and the movie genre. I am also going to recommend Air. It is Ben Affleck's new movie that he directed, and he is once again teaming up with Matt Damon to tell a story about how Air Jordans were created. And I will probably be seeing that this weekend along with Renfield. It is the new vampire movie with Nicholas Hoult, and Nicolas Cage is Dracula, and Nicholas Hoult plays his servant Renfield as he tries to separate himself from Dracula and tries to become his own man. And it sounds like a very fun time. People have described it as John Wick with vampires, and I love John Wick. I love vampires, so that's right up my alley. So that's what I'll be seeing this weekend, and those are my recommendations.
Nice. Well, as always, we would love to hear from y'all if you have any responses that you want to tell us to our questions of the week or in regards to what our topic. So today, if you want to tell us your favorite movie scores and soundtracks. You can reach out to us on our Twitter and Facebook at Raving Geeks. And then you can always check out our TikTok videos. And if you make a comment, we can respond to comments, but we cannot respond to messages because as a podcast, we don't really have a cell phone number that we can add in. But we can respond to comments. So you can also find us on TikTok at Raving Geeks as well. As always, I have been Hope Gooderl along with my co-host.
I'm Carter Sally.
And we hope that you guys have a great weeky and stay geeky.
See you guys later.